So we have these three energy systems, and I think it's important, even though we've looked at them in isolation, it's important to understand that these three energy systems are active within skeletal muscle simultaneously. So if you were to suddenly begin exercising, you certainly will be primarily using the ATP-PC system, even if you're working at a fairly low level, because it works really quickly. It can kick into effect very quickly. But you'll then start to have a ramping up after several seconds of the anaerobic glycolysis system. It will result in the production of this pyruvate or lactate. And if oxygen is available in great enough levels, that will then enter the aerobic energy system. So generally, whenever we're exercising, all three energy systems are going to be active at various levels. Your body will prefer to use the aerobic energy system when possible because it's the most efficient, has the least amount of negative byproducts, and so on. However, if you suddenly increase your intensity, the other two energy systems will kick in and help to fuel that sudden burst of movement. So if you're an endurance athlete and you're suddenly now running up a hill, or you've decided to make a sprint at the end of the race, your ATP-PC system, assuming there's enough phosphocreatine available, will actually kick in to help provide that boost of energy. And then once your sprint stops, or you're now no longer running up the hill, or you slow down, you can utilize the ATP that's being produced by the aerobic energy system to replenish the phosphocreatine that you used during the sprint. So all of these energy systems are going to be working simultaneously at some level. However, during different levels of intensity, different systems will contribute greater or lesser extent. Another factor that determines which energy system is utilized also is, do we have the inputs available? Even if we do a sprint at the end of the race, if we don't have phosphocreatine available in our skeletal muscle, we can't utilize the immediate energy system because we don't have its inputs. If we run out of glucose and lipid, and we run out of protein, we can't use the aerobic system. Or if we can't deliver oxygen quickly enough, the aerobic system will not be able to work at any greater rate. So all of these energy systems are available to us at any given time, as long as we have the inputs available and the outputs aren't in some way decreasing the effectiveness of the system. So Tom, why do we need to know all of this? The chemistry and the stuff, it's hurts my head. What's the use of knowing this information? Well, an understanding of these different energy systems gives us a much better understanding of the effects our training will have on the body. The question that always comes into mind is, can we train these energy systems? Can we make these energy systems work better, deliver ATP more quickly? Or can they work for a longer period of time and become a little more fatigue resistant? And the answer certainly is yes. I've alluded to some of these things in previous slides, but we certainly can train these energy systems. And really, if we're trying to maximize the performance of an athlete or the abilities of a person, this is really, I think, in a nutshell, where we should be targeting our training programs, is making these systems better. Because typically, our goal is to improve movement, improve the rate at which someone can do an activity, increase the intensity, and that means we need to make these systems function better. Now, if my goal is to lift a greater amount of weight, to have a new maximum squat or clean or jerk, then we need to do a number of things. First, we need to obviously hypertrophy the muscle, create more myosin and actin and more cross bridges that can be formed, because that means we have more strength. But we also need to make it so that we can provide ATP at a quicker rate for those muscles when they're working as well. So we certainly can train the energy systems by utilizing them in the way that we're going to utilize them in our activity. So by using a muscle at a high intensity level, quick bursts of energy and force, that's going to not only encourage the growth of the sarcomeres and the protein filaments, but it's going to encourage the skeletal muscle fibers to store more phosphocreatine. They're going to be better at utilizing that phosphocreatine by having more enzymes available that can be utilized in the reconstitution of ATP. If I want to become more efficient aerobically in an endurance activity, certainly by doing endurance activities and fatiguing the muscle, we can increase the number of mitochondria, the size of the mitochondria, which means that we can produce ATP more quickly. We also have to train these systems that can bring the oxygen to the muscle more effectively. And again, with repeated bouts of endurance training, we see an increased amount of capillaries around skeletal muscles. We see an increased amount of hemoglobin in the blood to move oxygen through the body. And we can train the different systems that can support the aerobic energy system that occurs in skeletal muscle. So certainly we can train these energy systems by training the person in a way similar to the event that they'll be participating in. And we can increase the rate at which ATP can be produced and increase how long we can produce it. So certainly our program design should be aimed at targeting these energy systems and improving their overall function.